Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about an old favorite. MTV Decoded has returned to YouTube, as has their infamous host named, of course, Francesca Ramsey. Franny has returned and seems to be more woke than ever. She actually cut her hair off, as you can see in this picture, and she's sporting more facial piercings, which seem to be her trying to pander to woke leftists even more. In addition, she seems to have changed her voice a little bit this new episode, and she's also, as usual, bashing the police. This video is called Why Prosecuting Police is Almost Impossible. Clearly, she wants to prosecute them. I'm not sure why, but we do know from previous videos she's not a big fan of law enforcement. She goes along with liberal narratives like defund the police, bash the police, all cops are terrible, things like that. So it's not really surprising that she's going after cops, and it's really not surprising that she's ignoring the real problems in the world, the real problems in this country, like stuff she could actually talk about that matter right now is like, say, hey, what's going on with all these riots? What about all this violence in the streets? Why don't we talk about how terrible things are in these cities where things are getting torn down? There's ghettos, there's fires going on, there's people getting their properties destroyed, their jobs are getting lost, all this stuff. And what Franny chooses to talk about is the more terrible angle of bashing the cops. Like, the cops are the ones trying to fix this country. There's very little they've actually done wrong here. Yes, a few arrests have gone wrong, but I mean, that's hardly an excuse to go after them unabashed and just totally ignore the real problems in the world. But needless to say, Franny doesn't care. She's purporting her narrative. She's doing her job at MTV, which is to push leftist propaganda. So let's go ahead and check some of it out and see where this video goes.
While it may sound like a film starring Denzel Washington and Glenn Close, qualified immunity is one of the main reasons police can act like the law doesn't apply to them. Because in a very real sense, it doesn't.
So right out the gate, I mean, she says the law doesn't apply to the police. I think she's referring to some specific law called this thing she wrote, qualified immunity. I'm not sure where she's going with this, but I will say right out the gate, I mean, these things that she's claiming, like the cops don't get punished for crimes, I mean, they do. That's obviously happens. I mean, what else do you want? I mean, there was two big arrests that went wrong this year that caused all these riots. And in both cases, the cops were either arrested or fired right away, or they're currently in custody. I mean, the law is going after them. So I don't really get where this is going already. Like, she's already just kind of jumped off of the main cases. Like, those two arrests, one in Minneapolis, one in Atlanta, those are supposed to be what sparked what was going on across the country. And I haven't seen any other instances this year. I mean, that was months ago, by the way. So if this was so bad, if it was happening all the time, like, why aren't there more examples? Why aren't we getting lots of examples of this happening? It's just because it's not a real problem. And really, this chick, Franny, is just obsessed with hating on cops.
The past 7 years, the number of people killed by American law enforcement has been depressingly consistent. There have been over 1,000 police killings each year, and around 10% of those killed were unarmed. Meanwhile, the number of police officers convicted of murder or manslaughter has yet to reach double digits in a single year.
So what we got here is a misleading graph. Okay, so it says 1,000 a year are killed by police. This isn't saying good or bad killings. Like, sometimes cops have to kill bad guys. So we could assume, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what percentage of these are bad killings, like, say, an illegal killing, like they did the wrong thing. I do know for a fact that only 9 unarmed black people were killed by cops last year. So that's the real basis of Black Lives Matter and these movements and these protests. It's saying that cops kill minorities more because they're racist. But if it's only happening 9 times out of over 300 million people in this country, it's really a non-problem. I mean, it should be addressed. We want that number to be 0, but it's really not an issue. And graph is just misleading. So if the cops kill 1,000 per year, 10% are unarmed per year. I mean, why aren't you distinguishing, like, which of these are wrong? She says that only so many percentages got arrested, which is, I believe here, says average 4 convictions per year. For all we know, there was only 4 times that the cops killed someone unjustly. I mean, there's a lot of crime out there. I don't know if you've heard about this, Franny. I know you haven't left your high and mighty ivory tower much, but there are bad places and bad people in the world. There's tons of people getting shot in Chicago every weekend. There's criminals, there's gangs, there's violence, there's drugs, there's all kinds of stuff. So the cops killing 1,000 per year actually doesn't sound like a lot to me, considering all the crime and the millions of people breaking the law and shootings and all this stuff. I mean, you got to consider what she's not saying. She's trying to portray this as a higher number, but it already sounded low. And then when you consider the fact that most of these are justified, I mean, I just don't know what she's going for here.
To reach double digits in a single year. So while it may seem like the individual police who were involved in this year's slate of police killings are the only criminals, the truth is the whole system is guilty as hell. In our last episode, we looked at how the police are only the tip of a whole broken and unjust iceberg. Today, we're examining how violent police officers can call the court system for backup after they've killed or harmed someone. To understand how this works, I'm going to have to introduce you to one of the worst two-word combos in the English language. No, yep, qualified immunity. Now, before we discuss that, there are 3 things we need to understand about how the police and the court system work together to cover up most police violence and wrongdoing.
The courts and the systems and everyone cover up police wrongdoings. Well, that's pretty rich coming from someone who covers up violent killers and Antifa wrongdoings. You're covering up the liberal violence and the protests and all the people that are getting killed in Chicago. Like, I mean, sometimes you're not covering up, but you're definitely ignoring it. You're not talking about the real problems. You're going after the police who are trying to help us. Dude, why do you think that there's such a big problem? Like, what is it that they have against the cops? Like, I'm trying to really figure it out. I think it has to do with, I don't know, just not respecting authority, not having proper parents bring you up and learn that, you know, not everyone that's in charge is a bad person. This is like really basic stuff. And this is like what kids think. It's like, oh, I hate all the teachers at my school. I hate all the principals. Like, I can't stand anyone that's in charge. And it's like, that's how Franny seems. Like, she can't stand anyone above her. She seems like she's just this kind of like narcissist who can't have a boss, you know, like can't have anyone like in charge of her. She just has to be the diva. You know, she can't stand cops because they're authority figures and they have the right to arrest people. And that's the real story here. That's what's really going on is cops are trying to protect this country and Franny wants to stop them. And she's the one that's actually covering up actual killers and crimes.
It's kind of like that police procedural that's employed more actors than every New York cafe combined, except a more accurate title would be Flaw and Disorder. First is the fact that, as we mentioned last episode, the Supreme Court upheld a police officer's right to use lethal force if they think a person might be a threat.
That's good. Why wouldn't the cops want to protect themselves? If they think there's a threat, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to ask them nicely? Oh, hey, mister, can you put that big weapon down and not kill me? Are you kidding me? Cops can legally use lethal force if they think you're a threat. I mean, yeah, if you're a threat, if you're coming at a cop with a weapon, especially, you don't even have to have a weapon. If you're coming at a cop with your hands up or whatever, you're punching them or going to rip their throat out. Like, yeah, you can use lethal force. That's what we're talking about. That's what they have to do to protect themselves. And that's actually exactly what happened in that Atlanta arrest that went wrong. Like, yeah, we didn't want these people to die. Like, no one needs to die. But if you reach for a cop's weapon and point it at them, you're asking for yourself to get hit too. I mean, you can't threaten someone and then not expect a threat back. That's really rich. That's like the rich kind of very, very hypocritical side to this. Like, she basically thinks that you could threaten people. She thinks she could threaten people and not have any kind of repercussions. And this reminds me of 2 things. This is like 2 kinds of mindsets. And basically, Franny encapsulates both of them. She's not only a female, and we've all seen those videos online where females think they could get away with everything. Not all, of course, not all, but there's a lot of entitled ones out there who will like say, hit a guy or punch a guy or mess with him and just think, oh, I'm a girl. You can't punch a girl. You can't punch a girl. And then boom, they get hit. And it's just like, they're so surprised after that. And the same kind of thing I think really happens with a lot of entitled people that are of color too. Like people that are black think they could go around and get in people's face and punch them or attack a cop or resist arrest. And then they expect nothing to happen back to them. And it's just totally ridiculous. So Franny's kind of got a squared kind of multiplication of both those identities that are causing her to think she could just do whatever she wants. And then she's projecting that onto other people. And, you know, that's why she probably thinks like things like that arrest gone wrong in Atlanta wasn't justified. Like that's why she'd probably want those cops to be whatever, put in jail, have their lives ruined and all that stuff. I mean, they already lost their jobs and perhaps there is something they need to get punished for. I mean, I'm not privy to all the details, but from the video and from what we have in the evidence that's out there, it's like, yeah, you point a weapon at a cop, you might get a weapon pointed at you. You might even get shot. And hey, what do you know? If these guys are better shooters than you, you might be the one that goes down. I mean, you're obviously going to be outnumbered, especially since cops, you know, work with partners. They call backup, which is something else Franny said not to do. Like you calling backup is a bad thing too. And I think the point is they just don't like to lose. And then they want to blame the winners for them losing. And the fact that these cops have the right to do the thing, like the government is supporting them. But this isn't like trying to cover anything up. She said that they're covering up and covering for the cops who are committing crimes. But it's like they're saying the cops can defend themselves. That's it.
Lethal force if they think a person might be a threat. This is one of the main reasons why of the 6,800 civilians killed by police between 2013 and 2018, only 1.7% of those officers were charged with any crime.
So again, misleading graph. She's now expanding this, like she's not doing it yearly. It was like 1,000 per year. And now she's covering 13 to 18, like a 5-year period, 6,000 people killed by cops in a 5-year period in a country with 330 million people and, you know, just as many weapons and a lot of criminals. Like I said, like that is not a high number. It's bad. We don't want people to die. But if 6,000 people come at cops with their hands or with violence or with weapons, like, yeah, they might get killed. They might get themselves hurt because the cops have to defend themselves. I mean, what's the other option? What else would we do? Like, just let the cops die? She would rather that happen. I mean, I'm saying that ridiculously, but she would rather the cops just die. Like, this is what she's going for. She's going against them as hard as she can and just showing that her bias is great. Her bias is totally unfathomable. And yeah, so only 1% is what it says here. Only 1.7% of those officers were charged with any crime. Well, that's probably because only 1% committed a crime. I mean, 1% of 100 is 1. So 6,800, that means 68 times, you know, something like that. I'm not sure if that math is totally right, but you know what I mean? I mean, there's possibility that that's the only times they could charge them with crimes. I know she has this phrase, this immunity phrase that she wants to like debunk or something and blame for all the problems. But no, it's just basic human common sense. If you come at a person with a weapon, they have a right to defend themselves. Not even a cop thing. I mean, people have a right. That's an American right. That's why we have the Second Amendment and why we have stand your ground laws and castle laws on your home. I mean, if someone comes after you, you could defend yourself. I don't understand why it's the cops that can't do that. Like all of a sudden she's trying to ride this wave on this anti-cop thing. And she's like, well, now that they're down and out, now that we've already got them defunded, let's really just take away all their rights. Let's get them all killed. And this is why cops are leaving their stations and not wanting to work in droves. Like they're all trying to retire or quit. And in addition, this is also why cops have left the Democratic National Convention. They're supposed to be like 15 police force there defending the Democrats and protecting them in their event, but none of them are going anymore. I don't blame them. I don't see how anyone related to law enforcement could be voting Democrat. Like that just blows my mind. If any cop even thinks about it, it doesn't make sense because you got people like Franny, you've got politicians, you've got all kinds of people going against the police. And it's just wrong. We're pro-police here. We support them. They're heroes. They're trying to protect us and they're saving our city from crime. So this kind of anti-police rhetoric just needs to stop. With all that said, let's go ahead and wrap things up for the end here. Why don't you go ahead and comment your thoughts on everything below. Tell me what you think about this video. Tell me what you think about Franny's new look and her anti-cop hatred. And also subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell for notifications. Check our second channel for more videos. And until next time, have a great day. Hey guys, I just want to take a quick moment to tell you about our new second channel. I've recently updated and revamped the second channel, now called NoBS News. There I'm posting extra videos that I can't fit on this channel. I'm also doing some live streams, I'm playing video games, and doing lots of other cool, fun stuff for you guys. I want to give you guys more content on a separate channel, so you can go and subscribe there, hit that bell for notifications. I'm going to put a link below to NoBS News, or just search NoBS News on YouTube. It's our second channel. It's a lot of fun, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Thanks for your time. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next video.